Yo, what is up? My name is Andy, for those of you who don't know me, and today I'm going to talk to you really quickly about failure and talk about the embarrassment of failure. And I had a pretty big, massive failure years ago with a company I had run here in town that did specifically apparel and then apparel branding. And we did pretty well for a number of years in the athlete space, in the local nonprofit space, business space. And because of the notoriety of some of our clients, it really built our credibility in town, where we started to attract other notable clients. And so one of the things that was really exciting and entertaining at the time was like how many cool projects we got to work on. And some of them were really personal. Some of them were really personal to me because they were with people who I had admired when I was growing up as an athlete and as a celebrity. Some of them were accounts that were relevant in that time and space because they were at the top of their game in the sport they did. And I had become sick at the end of 2017, was hospitalized for 2 weeks, went through a very, very severe infection where I almost lost my leg. And when I was let out of the hospital, I was put on bed rest for a month. And then after that, I had 3 months of physical therapy. That all happened at the same time that the business was under tremendous pressure financially. The business was under tremendous pressure from a production standpoint for the clients that we still had. And then also, we were having a difficult time collecting from some people that we had extended some line of credit to. So we were kind of like stuck on both ends, trying to meet commitments and expectations, but unable to do so, and then trying to collect on things that we'd already produced that we were also unable to do so in an efficient manner. So things did not end very nicely with the company 9010 brand. That was really hard for me. I ended up having to close the company and bring the remaining staff together 2 days after Christmas and let them know that we're not going to be able to open the company in the new year. And that was really hard. At the time, I had like my game face on. I'm like, okay, I'm a business owner. I have to tell everybody, they need to know, and I have to face the reality that this just isn't working out, and it's not, and the way it exists now is not going to be sustainable moving forward. And so it was difficult to like acknowledge that up front when I was making the choices, because I was trying to make them just methodically and kind of emotionless, but the emotion of that all unraveled in the months following that, and it was very difficult. So the company closing was pretty public because people knew that I was sick and in the hospital. And then when I had announced that I closed the company, or I had to close the company, it kind of came at a little bit of a unexpected surprise to a lot of people. You know, I really didn't know what to do about that, and I felt like a failure. And I for sure felt like a failure every day for many, many months. And even though I was like fighting to get my health back, fighting to get my strength back from physical therapy, the emotional part of my existence was just dead inside, and I really had a hard time with that. I had a hard time with going through the process of admitting that the failure was true, even though I knew it was true. It happened. You know, I had to dissolve the entity and close the office, sold all the furniture, got rid of everything I had in inventory, returned everything back to the clients that I still had, and the emotional part of that was very, very difficult. And so for many, many months beyond that, I was defining myself as a failure. And having a failure and being a failure are not the same thing, I've come to learn, but at the time I didn't know that. And recently something happened where someone started talking to me about their feelings of regret and public embarrassment, and that they felt that they had failed and they felt like a failure. And I'm 2 years beyond this whole thing that happened with 9010, and I was like, man, I know what that feels like. And I was able to talk to this person about how I felt back at that time, what I was going through emotionally, and provide a little bit of encouragement that it was okay to feel that way when it was happening, but I couldn't stay that way. And that's where the important part comes in, is that I couldn't stay that way, and I really didn't realize that I was in the grieving process, as a matter of fact. And much like if you were to lose a loved one, the company I built and had staff and a team and even a business partner, we built that out of a concept. It was just an idea, and then it became a real thing. And we birthed this company, and we grew it, and it grew, and it became known, and then it died. And I had emotionally been experiencing the grieving process, but not knowing that that's what was happening. So when that was brought to my attention by my counselor at the time, it was a breakthrough for me. And so I found myself recently explaining the same story to somebody, and I thought I'd talk about that here, about how failure and embarrassment and regrets about things that have happened that are bad or can really define us, and we let those things become like who we think we are to everybody else in the world. And the truth is, that's not who I am to my wife. That's not who I am to my closest friends. That's not who I am to the rest of my family. They don't define me that way. I've been defining myself that way, but that didn't help me. And so while I was stuck in that rut in like 2007, early part of 2017, early part of 2018, it was a real struggle for me. I honestly had difficulty getting out of bed a lot of days. I had difficulty feeling like, man, do I even really want to live anymore? Like, I'd totally be fine if I died in my sleep. I legitimately thought that. And so now I found myself recently talking to this guy about that, how I felt, and it was an opportunity for me to kind of flip that feeling of failure into hope and encouragement for someone else who's feeling that same way now, but can see me this way now, having come out of the fireball failure of 90-10 and be able to talk to him eye to eye and with confidence that, hey, it's going to be okay, and you're going to be able to move through these things, and you got to just keep trusting, and you're going to have to rebuild trust in things that you had trust in, that you lost that trust. And so I felt like I really needed to get this message out to whoever's watching this right now, specifically because most of us struggle with this silently, and we don't tell anybody we're feeling this way. If we do tell someone, it's usually someone very, very close, and it's very private, and we don't want to like publicize it. So that's why I'm making this right now, is maybe someone's watching this and you're feeling this way, and this message is for you then today. This is for you to understand that like there's hope and encouragement in the fact that you failed now, because at some point down the line, someone will enter your life, your path will cross with somebody else's, and they're going to potentially express how they feel, and you're going to be able to relate firsthand to that, and you're also going to be able to communicate from a place of experience what you have overcome and what you are doing now in life, and that you've come back full circle to enjoy life and be happy in life again. And that's where I find myself at now. Is I love life, and I love what I get to do for work. I love spending time with my wife and my kids. I love going out to car shows. I love making videos. I love being creative, but also like being nerdy and making spreadsheets about things and making written plans and stuff. So, I've kind of come to terms that the past is that past, and it will exist there. And every once in a while, bad feelings try to crop up, but man, it's really easy to kind of like whack-a-mole and just knock those things down because they don't define me. And those of you watching this right now that you're feeling like, oh, I had this failure, or I'm feeling embarrassed because of this thing over here, please don't let that stop you from doing what it is you're called to do, and please don't let that stop you from being a guide and an assistant and a support to someone else who might be going through the same thing. So there's two parts of this. Number one, if you're feeling this way currently, you will not have to feel this way forever, and there's a way to move through that and come back into a wholeness of life where you have joy again. And then if you have come to that place and you're like, well, geez, I wish this could help somebody else, it will. And it can. Just be patient. The time will come where your paths cross with somebody else, and they're going to need you to say this message, and you need to be bold enough and honest enough to be candid and to say it like I'm saying to you now. So that's all I wanted to share today. You can flip that failure into hope and encouragement for somebody else, and embrace it. Don't pretend like it's not happening. Don't pretend like you're not feeling bad and sad and angry and mad and depressed and hateful and all these things. They're real feelings if you're having them, and it's the right thing to work through them and try to get back into a place of progress that's going to be a contribution to your family, your friends, other loved ones, your workplace, your community at large, and you can do really a lot of good with that. So I hope that you take this message to heart, and I hope that what I've said today will help you in making the next right choice. Thanks for watching.